now we're going to turn to a friend of Furhat, who is Rose Siskind from Hello SciCom, who met with a lady, Jessica Banks, a week ago. Jessica Banks is an inventor, a designer, and entrepreneur, and she is the founder of RockPaperRobot. Of course, it's called Rock Paper Scissors in the game, but RockPaperRobot, and we're gonna check that out now.
Thank you for joining us, Jessica. So first question, who are you and what's your background in robotics?
My name is Jessica Banks, and I have I'm formally trained from in grad school from MIT.
Heard of it? Nice.
Heard of it, yeah. Where I was in the computer science and artificial intelligence lab.
Cool.
And in that, I was in the humanoid robotics group.
Also, you may know her from her hit show on Netflix, Hack My Home, in the presence of royalty here. Okay, so in addition to being a celebrity, you also do a lot of work in robotics. Can you answer for us, what is a robot? Is it a companion? Is it a tool that we use? How would you define a robot?
So, yes.
Yes. And cut. Interview done.
Okay, so it's murky. You can poke a lot at the definition. Always any definition of, I think, a robot you can poke at. I think it is I'm going to use a lot of this right now. Autonomous, and I'm not even sure I mean that, a device or a system that can sense the world, and actually I'll say autonomous kinetic device or system that can sense the world, do some computation on that input, and make decisions about how to act, and then go and interact and make changes in the world outside of itself.
Interesting. I think of it as like a spectrum of like a stapler to a human being. And it's like a device that sort of approximates a human at some point, that goes from inanimate object we don't consider having any sort of like properties other than its like most immediate purpose. But then you put googly eyes on it and it starts to enter this like territory where it has human properties. Because that's what you start to see with like Roombas, you know?
So yeah, I mean, I think in that case where I was saying, you know, the autonomous, kinetic, sensing device that then interacts with the world, computes, and then does something to the world, the Roomba fits in really well.
Yeah.
Stapler, not so much, right? You know, even with googly eyes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know.
Very boring robot.
Exactly. But humans have this amazing ability to make, you know, kind of and anthropomorphize all kinds of
there's
objects,
like a crazy stat about Roomba. I think it's like 75% of households surveyed that have a Roomba have named it something.
For sure. I don't doubt it at all. And probably even play games with it, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that's another thing with robots. There's, I mean, you can go into the whole social robots thing where you have ideas about how you can, when you start to play games, but you also start to find the limits of the robots.
Yeah.
And then you create, instead of like a, you know, conciliant relationship, more of an alienation thing.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to see like where it will fail.
Right.
You don't do that with your dog. You just play, you know, catch.
Interesting.
And you're like, oh, it's cute. They can't catch it. But that doesn't make you think it's less dog.
Right.
But with a robot, you're like, can't see ball when ball is half behind plant. Bad robot.
Yeah. Bad robot.
Bad robot.
Why aren't there more social robots in the world today?
I mean, have you tried dating in New York?
Oh. That is why.
I think that, well, there are a couple of reasons. One of them, there's a major technical reason, that is that, you know, a lot of times the kind of robots are stuck, autonomous robots, in this like processing stage. They haven't gotten to like the chip performance level that we can do now, which like is like the data from the world is right next to where you can do the compute, and you can compute at like you know, teraflops, like crazy speeds and performances, right? So I think that there's like we're working up to that, and the ability of that to be able to happen will allow interactions with humans to be safer, right? So but the social side of the robots part is like, what's the real question there? Is it that you want a companion to take care of you? You want something that you can talk to and confide in? Do you want something that you would trust with an elderly parent and their, safety? Or, so I think there are a lot of things to address. But I think basically one of the big problems is that we don't know the best part of being social to tackle yet. And you were mentioning function before. I think what will start, this is random, but like a lot of robots that are in hospitals, you'll see often they get pushed to the side, right? Because they get annoying.
Yeah.
Their capabilities they're not meeting what's happening in the social dynamic, even though they might be able to perform, like take the linens to the laundry. But they'll come in between you if you're talking with somebody.
Right.
So there are so many nuances that are even hard for humans.
Yeah, just knowing when to be social.
When to be social, or what that social interaction is, or what is inappropriate, or, so, we take for granted our ability to quickly make assessments.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder when you don't.
Yeah, there's so many fields of perception you don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I realized we bought a social robot for the office. So we brought this into the office to inspire us about robotics. Okay. And it has done nothing but cause immense emotional damage because it is so stupid. I mean, and it's unbelievably frustrating.
See, this is funny because
that's what you count that.
I mean, I would count this. It's sensing the world. I believe. I think it's sensing the world in some ways, and it's trying to do something with that information, and then it's going to do something to the world.
Okay, when building robots, there is a natural overlap between engineering and design. As robots become more and more software, how do we ensure design and designers are part of the development?
I actually think the software is integral, right? But I don't think it's like a separate, thing. I think you need the foundational system, right, to have something to interact with the world. Sometimes you might not need design, right? But I think as we move more towards collaborative robots that are robots that can interact in the same spaces with humans and really helping humans, design is going to be, the utmost importance, right? Because you have to feel comfortable, you have to be able to perceive something intuitive about the robot, intuitive about its motion, even if, intuitive, maybe there are slight things that we might take for granted about looking at how a joint might move that makes us feel more comfortable, right? About the motion slowing down and speeding up, about, its ability to avoid you, but a lot of that also comes from just how it looks. I don't think you'll ever be able to take the designer out of this loop. What was interesting was, in the humanoid robotics group, often people were focused so much on the capabilities, right? And then you suddenly come to realize, as you get to a certain space, you realize, okay, computer vision isn't a summer project. It's a long, hard thing. But you get to this point where you're like, it's very important that we have some design that encourages people to act naturally with this robot, because we're trying to get learn about natural reactions and interactions. And so if the design isn't there, you can never actually achieve what you're trying to achieve, because you won't elicit from us the way that we interact correctly.
Right. So you can't escape it, engineers. That's what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
I know you hate us.
More.
Exactly. Okay. Next up, how will robotics be incorporated into daily life? What new jobs will exist? I am particularly interested in this question.
So you mean new jobs for the humans?
Oh, wow. Wow. This is how I know you went to MIT. Certainly, I feel like in my life and the amount of IT calls I get from my family, I'm not too worried about all human jobs being automated away, because it really is knowing how to deal with the technology seems to be an ever-evolving field onto it.
I don't fear that robots will take all of our jobs. I'm very rarely hopeful about things, but I actually like the fact that robots can take the dangerous jobs.
Yeah, dirty, dangerous, and dreary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that is really great. And that from that we can even get healthier products. We can probably get, I love the idea of, robotic farming, right? To help us get, more efficient food without having to use chemicals, right?
Yeah.
And things like this, picking things like tenderly or making sure that plants, have better output, things like that.
What are you looking forward to in the world of robotics? Like, what are the kind of moves that you're excited about?
Actually, I think a lot of it for me is really around, partially because I have aging parents, so it's really around that
Elder care?
Elder care, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. This was really awesome.
Oh.